Hello, Michael here, speaking to you from Cuenca, Ecuador, on this sunny yet very hazy day. We're in our second week of quarantine here, and the curfew changed from 7 p.m. to 2 p.m. the other day. Ecuador is not fooling around in dealing with this current crisis that humanity has to come to terms with. I think 2020 is a trigger year when people are having to face questions about how life is to be led and how our societies need to function. And we have to cross this threshold of fear and face a chimera of truth and lies and to figure out our next step. Today I'd like to share some thoughts and questions about what it means to become human and possibly to become even more human. Over 100 years ago, Rudolf Steiner noted how since the advent of the technological age, in particular since the invention of the radio, that it was harder for the human being to be fully human, to be able to live out our fullest potential. Since then, there have obviously been advancements in electronic technology. The world is now surrounded by and permeated with ever more powerful electronic frequencies. The popular focus, though, has been on the capabilities of these technological wonders. But little heed is given to studies on their effects on living organisms, especially over long periods of time. And even less heed has been given to its effects on consciousness. Even those who are doing scientific studies on the effects of electronic technologies on living organisms, these are widely ignored and scoffed at for their findings. Technology aside, the pace and demands of modern life have also increased. Not only are we pressured to do more, we are pulled to attend to more and more things at once. We are inundated with tasks and information. We find ourselves more easily able to identify with Bilbo from Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings when he says, "I feel thin, sort of stretched like butter scraped over too much bread." We must be grateful for sleep, of course, but in our modern age, our life forces are used up more than ever before. And it takes much more conscious, deliberate activity to replenish ourselves. Also, in these times in which we live, are increasingly rife with lies and confusion. Even regarding issues and situations that are dire for everyone, lies and agendas abound. It is a struggle to be aware and to stay above fear and worry. What does it mean to be human? Most people are trying to figure out their lives, to find meaning in the context of one's feeling and thinking life is only half of the equation. How our lives are interwoven with each other and the rest of the world gives the other half. Everyone carries the question about how to find freedom and strength in ourselves, whether it's consciously or just in our feelings of dread or desperation for those who are desperate for control and power. The more conscious will ask, how do I build a richer and more harmonious life for myself and for others? Do you ever ask yourself, will I ever become the person I've always wanted to be? You find it difficult to find the time to focus on what is most satisfying to yourself and to find ways for your daily life and spiritual life to be in harmony? Wouldn't it be deeply satisfying to discover how to make the time, regardless of your daily schedule? Isn't it true that every now and then we've come to decisive crossroads and crises in our lives, and we wonder why we have to experience such pain and difficulties? Have you ever wondered if there is any meaning at all for your suffering or the suffering of others? Self-questioning and self-knowledge is the basis for healthy self-sustainment and for our further evolution as individuals. All these questions arise out of our human awareness and point to the pull of our soul intentions to become more than what we are at a particular time, whether it's short-lived or not. Every moment of our lives, starting with the circumstances of our birth, even our conception, are part of the thread that weaves through our life. How has pain and suffering fit into the fabric of your life? How do these experiences relate to the many experiences later in our lives? Once we begin to recognize that there are rhythms of unfolding in our biography, we feel grateful for the possibilities for greater self-awareness. Then we find new energy and enthusiasm within ourselves. Now, I've spoken with many people who complain that they have a disconnect between their daily life and what they call their spiritual life, or that they find it difficult to keep a steady, consistent practice. They're wanting the deeply satisfying experience to have the time to focus on what is most soul nourishing, and to find ways for their daily life and their spiritual life to be in harmony. Besides developing a spiritual practice and outlook, we can enter this work through engaging with looking at our biographies from a spiritual perspective. It is possible to see that the rhythms in our life's unfolding are archetypal in nature, for they mirror the rhythms that are found in the cycles of nature here on Earth and in the different but related cycles of the planets, stars, and their interweaving relationships. If we pay attention, these cycles and interrelationships are easily observable in nature, but we can also recognize them in our inner life. Over time, these realities are internalized within us, unfolding in ways that are common to all, yet in accordance, of course, to our individual karmic needs and necessities. Biography work addresses the artist Paul Gauguin's questions in the title of his painting, "Where did we come from? Who are we? Where are we going?" Biographical work is more than just remembering or rehashing the events of our lives. It is a way of looking at one's life chronologically through the archetypal 7-year cycles and the interweaving of cycles, other cycles of other bodies. Every cycle has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and has a developmental purpose in our lives. There are results from the processes and purposes for all that happens. With a bigger picture in mind, we ask ourselves, where did I come from? Who am I? What am I going to do? As we review each stage of our lives, we ask ourselves, how did this play out in my life? What have I learned about myself? How did my experiences reflect or manifest the intentions of a particular cycle? Did I fulfill what I was called to do? Or what was left undone and had to be developed or resolved later on, and possibly, or more than likely, with more effort? Once we begin to recognize that the happenings in our lives coincide with certain points in a particular archetypal cycle or phase, the question arises, what is so significant about these correspondences in my life? Well, through biography work, we discover a common theme or thread running through our lives. The thread has its different manifestations during each cycle or phase, but the deeper lessons we face each time all have a common purpose in our individual journey and development. When it comes to life's experiences, we naturally focus on and even identify with, of course, with what is most currently happening or with what has had the strongest impacts on ourselves and our lives. But when we begin to see that our experiences in life are connected, threads emerge showing how different experiences through meetings and situations, no matter how seemingly insignificant, all come together. all pointing to facets of a central recurring life lesson. During each phase of our lives, the things that interest us, motivate us, and what we sense as our purpose in life changes. Our knowledge of the world and of particular things, our schooling and upbringing, social encounters outside of family, in which culture and in which times we live, all play a part in determining what our purpose in life is and what intentions we make for our lives. Behind these elements are the karmic realities of what we have already done, both in the present life and in previous lives, and the karmic laws that demand balance of these karmic realities. The Mayan group soul insight, you are another I, has a new meaning in our time of individual consciousness. The more we grow as individuals, we become more aware of others. We see life through our own filters, and when we learn of others' realities and reflect on our own lives and biography work, we gain objectivity of our own lives and develop interest in the lives of others. It is important for us to share our stories with one another. Whenever there is a sharing of our lives, we are left enriched, edified, our hearts expand, and we feel unified in how our lives are relatable, no matter how different they may be. It opens the heart and mind, possibly more likely in shocking ways, to recognize how the uniqueness of another's life relates to our own. Not only do we encounter another through their story, we encounter ourselves. Now more than ever do we need each other. From a certain perspective, we are in infancy in developing a healthy social life. This impulse is expressed in Rudolf Steiner's motto of social ethic. The healthy social life is found when, in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community finds its reflection. And when, in the community, the virtue of each one is living. I will end this with wishing all of you deeply meaningful experiences and growing love in your hearts. So until next time, love to all.